Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kelly Chan, and I'm the Community Relations and Public Service Manager here at CEB. CEB is a self-sustaining nonprofit program of the University of California. In today's webinar, we're going to talk about confidence, competence, and stretching beyond your comfort zone. And we decided to have a webinar on this topic because the whole point of confidence in a professional sense is to recognize and be recognized for the skills and qualities you have. And an attorney's confidence is challenged at every level of the process, from starting law school to getting that initial job, to getting that initial case, to remaining employed. And today we have Maria Hall with us. She is the director of the Los Angeles Incubator Consortium, which is a program that helps new attorneys build sustainable solo law practices. And with Maria today, we have Pinky Guman and Amanda Rokita, both thriving solo practitioners who graduated from Maria's incubator program, and we'll be hearing from them as well. So Maria, just to start, you've supported over 40 attorneys in building their own law practices. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why you believe confidence is one of the most important characteristics attorneys need to succeed?
Sure. Well, also, hi, everyone. I'm Maria Hall. And actually, we are going to get to that slide in 1 second, Kelly. So if I'll first introduce really quickly a little bit more about Pinky and Amanda, who are my superstars from the incubator program. And the incubator program is a community building solo practice help center, I'll say, sort of making it up as I go along. No. And our mission really is to help newer attorneys who want to build community-based solo practices and want to revolutionize the practice of law by making it more affordable and more diverse. So as you can see, Pinky Guman is a graduate of Loyola Law School from 2015. She jumped into solo practice in 2018 and then went through our one-year program in 2019. She is a Southern California workers' rights and small business attorney, and she also does mediation focused on eliminating clients' financial and mental stress so her clients can focus on their dream career. And then we also have Amanda Rokita, who was in the prior cohort, which was 2018. She graduated from Southwestern Law School in 2016, started her solo practice the very next year, and then joined our program for 1 year in 2018. And again, both of them, I think I chose them both because they are two of people who you would look at and see as and talk to, and you would say, wow, they are so confident. They must have been born with that confidence. And from our and myself included, we've all seen each other in places where we were not so confident and where we were having our ups and downs and where everyone goes through it. So I chose them particularly because they are people who appear so confident, but they're going to be really honest with you about their own struggles and their own growth. And hopefully that'll resonate with some of you watching today. As I said, the incubator was founded in 2015 for the purpose of, the original purpose was to provide solo attorneys with help to provide affordable legal services. And you've heard things like the justice gap and bridging the justice gap, because there's all these people who need legal services who can't afford it. So there are also a lot of lawyers who want to provide those services. So we wanted to help people do that in a way that they could be their own bosses. They don't have to work for a law firm. They don't have to take cases they don't want to take, and they can have the schedule that they want on their own terms. And we do have a strategy. It's mainly keeping your overhead low, so we help subsidize some of the overhead costs. We want to help them generate cash flow. And then a big part of the program is building competence, legal competence, and confidence, because that's really the only way. You've got to develop I guess that you would have to say like a thick skin sometimes, because our profession can be very cutthroat. And so you have to really get a support network around yourself. It's up to you to do it. The support network is not going to come. You have to work to make a support network for yourself. So we're going to share some of those strategies today. And it's actually been now about 60 lawyers who have gone through the program. We're going into our 6th year. And as you can see from the pictures, they're extremely diverse, which is unique because our profession is about 88% white still, and it's called the least diverse profession in the country. So as you can see, we have a lot of smiling faces, and that's what we want, is for lawyers to be happy, because that's another trend that we want to change, is we want lawyers to be happy and not so, as we have a bad reputation for substance abuse and high stress levels. Okay, so now I'm gonna pass on to Pinky to say a few words.
Hi, everyone. This is Pinky Guman. So you're at this stage now that you've gone through a number of hurdles. College, the LSAT, which has gone through a number of changes, law school, externships, and then the bar exam, which is notoriously been very difficult the past few years. So you've gone through and you've overcome a number of hurdles. So congratulations, you're a freshman again. So you have to start all over at this new stage. And one thing that Maria had addressed is the nature of the legal profession. There's these unspoken rules and traditions, and it's somewhat of a hazing environment towards newer attorneys due to the competitive, adversarial, cutthroat, bullying nature of the practice of law, which the incubator, along with other incubators, are trying to combat and change the landscape of the legal profession. One thing we're going to address is the fact that there's how to address the mental habits like perfectional, being a perfectionist, that lawyers tend to develop prior to law school and during law school. So we'll be going into that. And then also we wanted to share with you, so when I started my practice, I encountered a number of comments from attorneys and, that wanted to help me, but also gave me, told me I needed more experience. I needed to go work for somebody. Because that's what they did. I needed to build a bigger resume. But the truth of the matter is that nobody knows what they're completely doing. To some extent, people have more expertise in areas than others, but to a large extent, none of us are complete experts in everything. And
you don't have to be.
Yeah, and that's true. You don't have to be. So there is potential, and we'll go through that to, have a thriving, powerful, successful practice that you're happy with, and how to overcome some of those obstacles that you hear from external sources, and then, your internal brain noise, as I would call it.
Yeah. So Amanda is going to say a few words now too.
So one thing that scares new attorneys, especially new attorneys that want to go solo by themselves initially or very early in their career, is there are a few things that are holding you back. One of the things is to fit in. So don't be concerned about fitting in. Going solo on your own is something that's a bit untraditional, and it doesn't fit in with outdated concepts of what a lawyer has to be. When you decide to go solo, you should always ensure that you remain your authentic self, be who you are, and just always stay true to yourself. Don't try to fit in. Don't compare yourself to the other attorneys, and just be you, and the rest will eventually fall into place with your hard work.
Yeah, and I'll say a few words about the pie chart. These are a lot of things that I hear about when people do express their fears, and a lot of times they don't like to express them, but these are some common themes. Of course, you're going to be afraid of committing malpractice, and that's a real issue because the stakes are really high for both you and your client. You know, you might be afraid of losing your job if your performance, if you lose a case, something like that. But I think at the deep root, I think a lot of us are afraid of being rejected by others, which Amanda touched on, and looking foolish. So I think all of these things we're going to talk about and sort of help mitigate your lack of confidence and kind of show you that there are ways that you can build your own safety net and move forward. And I did want to touch on just a few of the confidence myths that we all hear over and over that are not true. Number one, confident people do not feel anxiety or fear. That's wrong. Everyone feels fear. Everyone feels anxiety. We have a fight or flight response when we're under stress. Totally natural. They're not signs of weakness. And actually, the energy that you get from it, you can become better. And they will make you prep more, but you have to be in control of it in a way that it doesn't debilitate you. Another confidence myth is that you have to sit around and wait to be confident before you actually get up and do something. No, the confidence comes with practice and practice and practice and practice. So that's another thing. Even if you feel scared, you can't let that stop you. And then the other myth is how confident one feels on the inside accurately reflects one's competence. And that is not true. It could be true, but it's not true for the most part. A lot of the most insecure people I know are incredibly competent. And I see a lot of that in especially people who come from other countries, people who have accents, and they are so competent, but they believe that because they have some other thing that other people can see, that it somehow makes them feel less confident. And it really does hold them back. They don't take the opportunities. They don't take the leadership. They don't take the reins like I see they can. And they would be a lot better than most people in leadership positions.
So this is Pinky. So what we basically want you to realize is that you have superpowers that you are unaware of. And that is one vehicle that you need to self-actualize and realize in order to break into your self-confidence and also, competence. And then
Amanda wanted to say something about that slide too.
Oh, no, keep going.
Okay. So I just wanted to give you a quick roadmap. So these superpowers we're going to tell you about, and maybe you have some of them, but you don't realize they're superpowers. So we're going to go over those. And then in section 2, we're going to tell you some tools to help you develop those superpowers and develop and build your confidence. So first, though, I wanted to tell you that luckily the state bar does not expect you to be perfect. So if you feel like malpractice is something that's preventing you from taking on your first case or filing your first complaint or whatever it may be, or going for a job that you think is high above you, the state bar mainly expects you to, one, work hard and be diligent. Don't, answer your phone calls, respond to clients. That's all in your control. It wants you to be mentally, emotionally, and physically able to do your job, and you've got to be honest about that. If you become too sick, either mentally or physically, you need to get out of the case or do things to make yourself better. Number 3, you either already have to have the sufficient learning and skill, but if you don't, that doesn't mean you can't take the case. That means you can either team up with a lawyer who has sufficient learning and skill, or you can refer it out and you can get a referral fee, or you can just get yourself up to speed before it's time to do the work. So depending on your personality, you might like staying up all night to learn a brand new area of law. I know attorneys in the incubator program who love doing that. Other people are like, no, I would rather co-counsel, or I'd just rather refer it out. I don't want to learn something new. So it's all in your control, though. I want you to really internalize that these things are not things that are going to happen just because you made a mistake. You're not going to get disbarred from making a simple mistake. So, and then the other thing is, of course, the safety net, malpractice insurance. Malpractice insurance is more affordable than you think, especially if you're a younger or newer lawyer, and it's worth the price.
So this is Pinky again. first superpower is the fact that you are brilliant for the fact that you've gone through law school, you've passed the bar, you've overcome much more than you probably realize. Because the reality is, through law school or, during the bar exam, people go through personal struggles. People go through all sorts of obstacles that you don't even recognize and reflect. And so basically the fact that you've already overcome these previous experiences is evident that you can, overcome this new obstacle entering the legal profession, whether it's, working somewhere or starting your own practice.
This is Amanda. Superpower number 1, which is very simple, but not everyone realizes they have. But as an attorney, you have an ability to get to the root of a problem, untangle it, come up with options, and create a roadmap with how you should deal with it. Doesn't mean you always have all of the answers, but you know how to critically think. You know how to problem solve. That's an amazing, incredible tool that you can use in your law practice and outside of life, outside in your general life. So the fact that you know the fact that you already have these skills, you're already on the head start compared to somebody who does not practice law.
Yeah, and let me give you one example of, we do some, and this is Maria, we do a lot of legal clinics, and we volunteer at a lot of free legal clinics, and people come in with all kinds of problems under the sun. One time a woman came in and she didn't speak English, and she said, "Oh, I got evicted, but I don't know how long I have to move out." And she showed me the paper, and the paper actually said that she had won her unlawful detainer trial because the plaintiff, the landlord, didn't show up. And she thought it was the court saying she had to get out. And just by me looking and reading it with basically, because I speak English, I told her, no, you won. You don't have to move. So it's like something like that you think you take for granted, but even just your ability to look at something from the court and read it is like, to that woman, it saved her apartment, rent-controlled apartment. So it's like things like that you don't, and the library also tells us, the free clinics that we do at the librarians always say that, like, just having an attorney read the document it means so much to people. So you have the power to really help people.
Superpower number 2. Now that you have your law license, you don't have to go out and work for someone else. You can be your own boss. You can hang your own shingle. You can work as much or as little as you want. You can pick all of the clients that you want to represent. Your future is basically in your hands. So that is one amazing thing that people don't realize right away. People think that they usually have to go and work for a firm, get more experience. Nope, you have a right to go out on yourself and pave your own destiny. Another thing that you should always remember, and something that I've always considered when I felt a little down when I started solo practice, you are equal to your opposing counsel. Your opposing counsel went to law school, they passed the bar. You went to law school, you passed the bar. Just because you started practicing 20 years less than they've practiced, you've only been practicing, 6 months, year, however long it's been, your opposing counsel has to treat you like opposing counsel. And that's something that you should always remember, especially if opposing counsel is giving you sort of a freshman type of a hazing.
And this is Pinky. And so I wanted to reflect on a conversation Maria and Amanda had yesterday, where I didn't realize that my law license opens doors and opportunities that you don't even consider. For example, last year,
next slide segues into next slide.
Segue, sorry. So last year, in March, I went to with an organization, went to lobby for new laws and legislation. And there was a moment when I sat back and I realized that I was in a room full of attorneys practicing for 20, 30 years and state senators and assembly members. And I was pitching reasons, legitimate bases for passing these laws. And it came, this January, I, saw these laws actually come into play. So having a law license opens so many doors and opportunities that you don't realize that individuals that don't have, a law license don't, they don't have the same opportunities, unfortunately, but utilize that. Be creative, think outside the box. What can you do with your law license, this knowledge that you've attained? And also utilize it, apply it with your previous life experiences to basically carve out, something unique and different that others don't have.
Oh, and you're segueing, but hold on. Pinky has a great way of segueing to the next slide because it is all related. But also I was going to say, like, for myself, I was active with the National Lawyers Guild, which is the oldest civil rights bar association, in law school. And I was a volunteer in law school, and I was on the law student activities. And then after a while, I never thought about being president of the Lawyers Guild in LA. But then after a while, it's kind of your turn to do it. If you want to still be active, it's kind of like I had to be co-president. So, it's like if it's because when you volunteer, especially, those jobs they need you. So if you want that responsibility, the opportunities are there. You can be co-president of something, you can be president of something. Amanda, you want to talk about that?
Yes. So as a newer attorney, I made an effort to become involved in sections with the Los Angeles County Bar Association, especially the small firms section. I joined that section about a year ago. I gained some relationships with some of the attorneys, and then I was actually invited onto the executive committee, which I joined in July. And since then, I've been assisting with events, and I became the chair of the membership committee. And with that position, I get to greet and meet all of the new members and create relationships and expose myself to attorneys across the entire county from different backgrounds and different experiences.
Yeah, and I think all of those examples that we gave were things that we weren't paid for necessarily, but those are sometimes the unpaid opportunities are the ones that really give you the edge above others. Like I think Pinky was recently awarded the Super Lawyers Rising Star, and I think it was because she's a great lawyer, but I think there are a lot of great lawyers, but it was because she showed also community involvement and leadership.
Yeah, I actually didn't. I knew Amanda had, was very involved with the small firms and solo practitioner section of the Los Angeles County Bar Association, but the experiences when you take on volunteer positions on boards does help your practice, does expose you to knowledge from others, and it shows your work ethic to other people when you're, for example, Amanda has been organizing events throughout the county to make sure there's access, not just in downtown LA, but all over.
Mm-hmm.
Superpower number 4. You have rich experiences and talents that help you get where you are today. Use them. Just because you've only been practicing for a small amount of time doesn't mean that you lack knowledge in every other aspect, especially in litigation. Like for me, for example, I'm a business litigator. Before I went to law school and during law school, I owned several businesses, and then I also worked various jobs when I was in college and law school. Now that I'm a business attorney, I'm able to use some of those experiences from my small businesses and apply those to my civil litigation cases. So just because you didn't have a legal background prior to law school, you can use the experiences. I mean, even customer service skills from retail. A lot of people claim that their attorneys are not personable. They don't answer phone calls. They don't know how to communicate. Just even having good customer service skills and making your client feel welcome and confident. These little skills that you've learned from various unrelated jobs that are unrelated to law can get you far in your legal career.
And bouncing off of Amanda, just on a different aspect, is the talents. Last year, I was thinking, oh my God, I am not, I don't have the business skills. I'm not a salesman. That's what a business person is supposed to be. And over time, after receiving feedback from potential clients, from presentations I did, I realized and learned that my asset isn't being the salesman, making that incredible Mad Men pitch. It's being authentic, honest, and real with my clients, and that's why they hire me. So rather than try to be something I'm not, I now am embracing the fact that honesty is one of the tenets of my practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we'll talk about in section 2, is that people have different talents. So if you have a talent, use it, practice the heck out of it. We've had people who were, I would say that it does seem easier for incubatees, people who are in the incubator program who have sales background. They do make money faster. I will say that. But that doesn't mean that they have an edge over the long haul. It's just you have to find out what works for you and then don't forget it and practice it. So in section 2, take control of your presence. Make sure others see the best version of you online, in writing, and in person. This is extremely important because no matter what you think about if you should, you want to be yourself, but you also just have to be aware and mindful that other people are going to you're going to be communicating something else outside of what what your way you dress, the way you write. All of those things are communicating something about you. So who wants to take this one?
So this is Pinky. We were talking about, and unfortunately, this is just a reality, that your first impressions, while may not ruin, your relationship with the court, with opposing counsel, with your client, they do create a precedent, do enable you to, trying to find the right word for it, but showcase your competence, your talent, your abilities. And this is done in writing, whether, to a court, you're making an impression, whether it's in person, your appearance, how you dress, the clothes you choose to wear. Are you standing up straight with your shoulders back? In court, are you providing deference to the judge? On phone calls, is your voice being projected in a calm and pleasant demeanor rather than adversarial? Online, we'll go into that a little bit, but what is being popped up when somebody searches you? And so I don't know if Amanda wants to talk about with clients and opposing counsel, first impressions that one makes and how that can have a lasting impact into the livelihood of your case.
So with clients, always treat everyone the way you would want to be treated. And always, or what I always remember in the back of my mind, I would treat someone the way I would want to be treated. And I always think about the fact that, if a client has a bad experience, they could write about you on Yelp. You want to maintain a good reputation online and offline. And with opposing counsel, usually when you hear opposing counsel talking about other attorneys, it's always something negative. Attorneys usually don't discuss other attorneys with each other unless it's something bad. Mm-hmm. So if you to avoid having kind of a negative reputation, always remember to be professional and cordial and treat attorneys the way you would expect to be treated and always be professional, especially in emails, because they'll always be printed out and attached as exhibits in court. And with your colleagues and peers, same thing, the golden rule.
Yeah, and I have a couple of things to say about that, a couple of examples actually, and a tip. So when I was first a lawyer I was working at Communities for a Better Environment, which is, it's public interest firm, an organization, and we work with people in the community. So we're working with people usually in lower income neighborhoods, but we're also in court. So some of the organizers, they would usually dress in jeans and t-shirts, and we might dress that way in the office as well. But then my supervisor had told me, he said, you know what, it's your client, even if they're a community organization, they want to see a lawyer in a suit, at least the first time, and in court, of course. But because it really does give them the power of, wow, we have a lawyer who is just as powerful as the other side. So we would always, the first time we meet a client, and anytime we were in court, and the first time we met opposing counsel, we would always wear suits. So that was like a rule of thumb in our office. The rest of the time, once you know the clients, then you might be able to, then you don't have to. But the first time, we would always do that. Another thing I was going to say about writing, I had a younger attorney, not in the incubator program, who showed me a complaint, and it had so many typos in it. And I said, please fix these typos. It's going to go to the judge. And he said, well, why? The judge isn't going to rule against me because of typos. And that was like, the judge is that's your personal reputation. And actually the judge might stop reading. If it's got too many typos, the judge can just stop reading, literally. So all of those things are rhetorical devices, really, that communicate things about you that you may or may not want to be communicated.
And they're in your control, in your power, and people take notice regardless of whether you want them to.
Yeah.
This is Pinky. So I, in the beginning, I have a contingency portion of my practice, and I was waiting around for cases because it does take a while to get your name out there, to let people know that you've started your practice. And some of the things I worked on was basically utilizing online lawyer directories and pointing out and, creating a website which we'll go into. But basically there's these, Avo is free. You go on there, write a great bio, go back, revisit, rewrite it, because you'll realize, no, I, want to frame it differently. And then one of the ways I actually, I believe, is my understanding, that I was selected for 2020 Rising Star is because I updated my super lawyer's profile, which is hidden. Nobody sees it. It's not, people at super lawyers do, but I would update it with the fact that I was the chair of the Multicultural Bar Alliance of Kern County for 2019, and I would update it with anything I had written for any articles, publications. For example, the Los Angeles County Bar Association has a publication Maria's been in, and so utilize this time to update and keep your online presence relevant. Include things that you've volunteered as, speaking engagements, any awards, even though you may believe it's early, you may have received a moot court competition award. Have it up there. If you take any leadership roles, post it on your LinkedIn. People do look at that, and they do creates an impression of you as an authority, or an expert, at least in that particular space. So these are really free, affordable ways to boost your confidence. People will check you online.
And that kind of segues to, I think we've said that. Don't forget to highlight and capitalize on your rich life experience before law school. Lawyers have a way of just becoming really insulated, and we do have rich experiences. So we're not so boring as everyone thinks. Okay, and I'll just say a word about headshots. Or Amanda, you want to?
Yes. So once you decide to go solo, headshots and your website, two things you should invest in. It's worth paying for a good photographer to provide and take headshots that you're happy with. I don't suggest taking pictures with an iPhone. It may be good for temporary just to get something up, but you should really just pay and get professional headshots taken care of. And your headshots, if they're professional, you're going to be less likely to be judged as opposed to someone posting a blurry phone picture. And same thing with your website. Take the time to invest. I mean, you can get an inexpensive website up fairly easily because your clients are going to Google you. So they're going to want to find a website and they're going to want to see what you look like. So two things that will definitely get you started.
Yeah, and within your control as well.
So this is Pinky. One thing to go off of that and transition into this. So let's say Maria referred a client to me. That client, just like we, nowadays will look at the restaurant that we're planning to go to, or check out the salon they're going to. People will look you up. And while I may not be the source that generates a client, it is the closer. So it will encourage, basically a potential client from, okay, this is what their aesthetic is. This is what the feel, what I'm going to basically receive. So it's important for you to have, a social media can be basically, an asset or
Negative.
Or, something that can weigh you down. I'll talk about the positives and then I'll let Maria talk about some of the cautionary tales. But social media is a way to stay relevant. You need to remind people you exist. And having I'm not a big social media fan, just because, I think it's just people's preferences. But I know every once in a while it's necessary to post and brag about yourself, what you've accomplished. It's amazing when you have your friends and colleagues post your accomplishments. So share your friends. They're not your competition. There's enough work around to promote each other and utilize this space that can be accessed from any point. And it's something that's in your control, not somebody else's, that can create confidence in you.
Yeah, and I'll just say, the just be careful about it, because let's say, now you're not a student anymore, you're a professional. So your persona, you will be judged. You're a counselor. You're supposed to be a good example and a person who will give good advice. So just be careful about that. Also, if you're thinking about ever becoming a judge, you have to really be careful of everything you ever post. And your opposing counsel will also look at your social media. So you just want to be careful about it, and be careful about not providing legal advice also. You might give general information, but don't cross the line. You may find yourself in an attorney-client relationship that you don't want to be in. Okay, so section 2, and we'll move a little quickly. Unfortunately, we need like another 3 hours, but we only have 15 minutes. So law school, you were changed during law school. So get to know yourself again.
So Amanda and I can both chime in a little bit about this. One of the things, I don't know if it's Elon Musk or some of the other billionaires out there, there's this test called the Strength Finders. There's different levels you can, take a cheaper, version of it, but it basically tells you what your strengths are, and to play to your strengths, because investing in your strengths is going to have so much more of an impact and deliver more results than, working on your weaknesses. Delegate your weaknesses when you can and however you can. And utilize, for example, one of mine is empath, relator, strategy. So my strengths are more, I utilize them in my public speaking because I put myself in their shoes and try to understand what are they looking to receive from my presentation today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of this test. It's actually a book and a test. It's about $18 to buy the book, and then you get a code to take the test online, and they'll give you your 5 top areas of strengths. Mine were strategic, input, connectedness, learner, and achiever. For example, those were my top 5. I had no idea I was good at strategy, but that was my number 1 strength because I took it for granted. I thought everyone's brain worked like mine. And so then once I saw that, and then the premise is just start practicing the heck out of it, because the more you do it, the better you're going to get. And you're actually going to be really great at it, as opposed to working on something that you're not very talented in. And then you're going to at best be mediocre, and you're going to be less happy because you aren't going to be getting, good feedback. So, and even an example of this presentation right here, my top 3 strengths: strategic, input, and connectedness. I like doing things that involve other people. That's the connectedness part. And I like input from other people. That's why I find I think it's it's better for me rather than doing this whole thing myself to get input from others. So that's like an example. And then it makes it fun, because otherwise I don't know if I would want to do it if it was just me talking. So it's like that. It's like you find these areas of strengths that you might be taking for granted, and then it's like, wow, it kind of opens up some new doors.
You should also get crystal clear about your why. So we suggest preparing an elevator pitch, a quick pitch, so that you'll be able to explain to your clients and your community why they should hire you, why you bring value to them, besides having a law degree, but what sets you apart from everyone else. This is a must. If you're a solo practitioner, you must know how to self-market to an extent. A short elevator pitch is the perfect start. Just provide a brief statement of what sets you apart. There's a book by Simon Sinek. It's called Find Your Why. And we suggest reading that, and it'll help you evaluate your abilities and develop your own type of elevator pitch.
And I recommend, if you're short on time, he has a YouTube video, a TED Talk, actually a few TED Talks. And he explains basically your values, why are you doing what you're doing? And if you don't have something, adopt a value is something he discusses.
Yeah, in the incubator program, we have very strong why statements in the people who are wanting to go solo, because usually it's because they don't fit in with what's around them. They don't fit into the big law firm. They have really clear reasons why they want to be solo and start their own business. And as an example, I do like Pinky's, which is, she's a Southern California workers' rights and small business attorney and mediator focused on eliminating clients' financial and mental stress so they can focus on their dream careers. So like something like that, it does explain that, yes, she is an employment lawyer, but she just doesn't say, hey, I'm an employment lawyer, because where does that just falls flat. But it actually says, like, look, I'm here to help people, in their work life and have dream careers. This one is a humongous topic that a lot of people, I think Brene Brown is really great to listen to her TED Talks on this subject. It's boundaries is sort of the catchphrase, but it's basically when to say yes and when to say no. And I'm terrible at this. I say yes way too often, but so that's why I feel like a hypocrite talking about it. So I'll let somebody else talk about
Amanda
it.
has a really great story, and
yes, Amanda is great.
I'll share one.
She is my hero as far as boundaries.
So when I first started solo practice, I didn't really have boundaries. I was receiving a lot of referrals from the Los Angeles Referral Service, Los Angeles County Bar Referral Service, which is great. But I was receiving a lot of inquiries for people that wanted help with smaller cases. I didn't know how to charge. People were asking me for a flat rate. I was giving them a flat rate that was too low. I was I didn't really set boundaries, what I should actually charge, what I really need, what's worth my time, what's not worth my time, what stresses me out, what, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do it? So you have to really dig into yourself and figure out what's true to you personally and professionally, and structure your boundaries so that you don't go too out of line or even reach the line for things that you don't want to do or things you're not willing to do at all.
Mm-hmm. And then I would like to remind just newer attorneys that there unfortunately is a part of our legal community that does exploit newer attorneys for contract work at very, very low rates. And they justify it in the sense that, well, you're getting experience. Despite this experience being at a level where they cannot financially sustain themselves, can't even pay their rent, you can be susceptible to, and people may prey on you to take on contract work, these opportunities that are very one-sided. I've been poached and offered really bad co-counseling arrangements. I actually went to Maria and spoke with her in confidence about that one scenario. So just be careful. I know it's scary because in the beginning you're thinking, oh my God, if I say no to this opportunity, am I even going to get other opportunities? Are there, going to be other opportunities? Yes, there will be. Just be patient. Put yourself out there, and work on articles. Invest in, in networking events. Get out there. Don't worry about that.
That segues. Once again, you are the brilliant segue. You're the segue queen. Okay. So create your own community, because this is exactly that topic. Don't wait for other people to come get you. Go out there and find your community of people who are going to support you and people who want to see you succeed because you all share the same values, which is, say, for example, improving the conditions of a working lawyer. So this one is, I think any of us could talk about this one, but basically I can run through it since we're short on time. Mainly you want to construct your own safety net full of people who are supportive, people who have your back, people who will give you honest feedback, people who they're not going to suddenly not like you if you lose a case. They're not in it because of, one success or one failure. They're in it to help you. And this can be people who have more experience than you, people who have less experience than you, but you also have to participate in that community as well. And that's where the sustainability comes in. And I do think that when you actually have friendships like this, like deep friendships, it actually is more valuable than when you work at a firm and everyone is paid to work together, because your connections are more real and authentic.
Really quick, I think what I found is collaborations is one of the best tools, one of the things that you should invest in, because when you're lifting others up, without expecting anything in return, not transactional, it just reflects on your own character, right? And it creates a better environment for everyone, happier attorneys, which is, I hope, all of our goals.
Mm-hmm.
So the best place to find these great uplifting relationships, for example, to go to your local bar association, join legal related committees, groups, associations based on identity and affinity, so you have some type of a connection, and then alumni associations, but also non-legal groups. Non-legal groups may also be a great way for you to generate business and get some clients that you didn't even anticipate on getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't underestimate peer support. I think we just wanted to say it doesn't have to be only mentors that you're looking for, because peers also can be amazing to bounce ideas off of, especially get perspective. You're going through the same thing. and backup in a crisis. I know I've used like an incubator attorney when I was really sick. It was like 11:30 p.m. and I just got suddenly really sick. And I texted one of the incubator attorneys to ask if she could handle my appearance. It was an important appearance in the morning. And she's like, yeah, sure. Text me right back. Like, that's something that is friendship. Like, that is, that's what you want to have, especially if you're solo. You need to have those people. And I would do the same for her. Okay, so D, and sorry, we are having to run through this pretty quickly. Work on building your legal competence. So this, once again, is in your control. And the more you work on building your confidence will just come naturally. Pinky.
So, I mean, these are some examples that we realize that while you're developing your practice, it can sometimes it's quicker for some people, faster for others, but these are ways to build your competence, build your exposure, your experience, and showcase your work product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's excellent. Do you want to say anything, Amanda? No, she's good. Limited scope opportunities, I'll just explain what that is. That's where it's like a la carte portions. So say you just want to do one appearance for somebody, and then it's similar to contract work where you're going to be making the court appearance for an attorney. A limited scope would be doing the appearance for an actual client instead of having the attorney as the intermediary. But it's basically taking on points. Oh yeah, and this slide we added in at the last minute, just to know everything is going to take longer than you think it will. Writing anything, writing a draft demand letter, things like that.
So being realistic with your deadlines, being realistic with your charging, getting to court on time so you're not late for your hearing. Be realistic with your timing and always give yourself a little extra time.
Great. Like this slideshow is taking longer than Okay, there's all kinds of practice guides. Yeah, these, go ahead.
So as a solo, you need to get information and you can't keep calling all of your, you don't want to wear out all of your co-counsel and your support around you whenever you have a legal question. So where do you go? You go to practice guides, the Rudder Guide, CEB on Law, Matthew Bender, the Westlaw books. A lot of these books will give you a ton of information on whatever area of law you're interested in. And the like the Rudder Guides, for example, those will, like the civil procedure for trial, it'll tell you, I need to write a motion to compel. It'll tell you exactly how to, your deadlines, how to do it, the way your pleading should be formatted, everything.
Yep, spoon feeding. It spoon feeds you, and it is annoying for more experienced lawyers when people ask them questions that are in there. It's like, just look it up. Okay, seek out templates.
So if you're on listservs, there'll be situations when people are just asking, hey, I need motion in limine for this. Save them, in a folder somewhere. And just like Amanda had said, a lot of these sources, CEB is a great resource. There's so many example fee agreement and provisions. And then also going on to the MCLE. MCLEs were a source of building my confidence, because I would watch MCLEs, for example, on CEB, one of the sources where I would become more familiar, more confident that I knew the subject, so that if somebody asked me a question, I was on top of it.
Yeah, so I only have 3 minutes, I'm sorry. So now we really have to whip through, but okay, so you get that. Pro bono opportunities are incredible opportunities to build your confidence. You can get any type of legal experience you want. You can get any type of area of law that you want. And then final word about self-acceptance and facing our fears. Okay, number 1, don't compare yourself to others. Again, don't compare yourself to others. It is a losing battle. Everyone else is in their same struggling too. This is what I see with the incubator attorneys. They all think everyone else is doing better than them. Everyone is going through something. So there's a lot we could say about that, but we're running out of time. But okay, right? You guys all agree with me?
Yes.
Don't compare yourself to others.
Yeah, it's harder said than done.
Yeah, it's harder said than done. That is for sure. Okay, and then these kinds of things you can look later at the slides. Basically, it's just little tips like breathing exercises. And then strive for self-acceptance. That's this is also finally our final slide, second to last. So it's okay to tell people, hey, I don't know right now, but I'm going to look it up and get back to you. To me, that is a very confident thing to say. When people don't admit that they don't know something, that's when you get into trouble. And then finally, remember, which one of these resonates with each of you?
All of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm more prone to operating like a machine, and that is not healthy, because if you put all your source of confidence coming from your work, it's unhealthy, because what happens if you have a bad year, you have a bad month? You need to have other sources of that provide you confidence: personal relationships, family, etc., hobbies.
Always make time for yourself, your loved ones, and your health.
Mm-hmm. And your dogs.
That's and your dogs, and your dogs. Because if you're not healthy and you're not taking care of yourself, how can you help your client? You can't. So you always need to make sure you prioritize your mental health and your physical health.
You're here. And then we have some books here. And then I don't know if we have time for questions. Let's ask Kelly.
We have 2 minutes. We can take 1 or 2 questions. So if you have a question, please chat them in, and then our speakers here and I can see them and answer the questions that you have.
If not, we can keep talking for 1 more minute about
I'll say one thing just about one slide that we just talked about: comparing yourself to others.
Oh yeah.
People are at different stages. For example, one colleague may be bringing in more cash flow than you, but you may be out in the community having, published something. So people are succeeding in different ways, differently. And so don't, like Maria said, don't compare yourself, because you have no idea what's actually behind the curtain.
Yeah, what I do, I just take credit for all of your successes. That's okay. But I do. I am really proud of you guys.
But thank you so much, Maria, Pinky, and Amanda, for your time today.